It's July, and we are all about Christmas in July here in the studio. And this week is all about Tim Holtz, and I'll tell you why. Hi, this is Kelly. Welcome to Kelly's Creative Dream Studios. And we're going to play with some Christmas items from Tim today, ahead of his live class that is happening this weekend on July 11th. Even if you don't have the kit that they will be working with, go ahead and click in and watch the live. The replay is going to be available. You'll get some great creative inspiration. Now, I've gotten some creative inspiration from Tim Holtz's Christmas. I want to say it was 2023 video. I will link it down below. And Paula's vignette box full of all kinds of goodies. And I'd really love to make one of those. I have the vignette box blanks up here. I've just been hoarding them, because once I use them, they're done. But here's the thing. If you're making Christmas decor like that, you don't have to try and make room in your studio or wherever all year round. Make them part of your Christmas decor. Pack them away at the end of the season. Now, today we're going to be using the pocket cards, and I'm also going to, I think they come 5 to a pack of the pocket and 5 of the tabs. Now, the tabs will not fit in the pocket. We're going to have to cut those down. So we're going to be using those. I'm also going to be using papers from the Tim Holtz Worn Wallpaper Christmas Noel. And here, there's 2 of each of these to the package. And they're single-sided, so we have the poinsettia in that nice vintagey worn wallpaper look. This one really gets me. I can see this pattern from the 1960s when I was growing up, used in store windows. I love this. This, if you changed out the emblem in the middle to, say, patriotic top hats, you'd have a perfect thing for 4th of July as well. Then we have the wintry snow scene. This matches some of the, to an extent, some of the papers that we're doing in the Winter's Veil wreath. And then there's our jolly old vintage Santa and the Christmas presents and the reindeer. And then we have the snow and the wintry scene. The candy canes, but I think this is going to be the one that I use today. I think I'm also going to use part of this one because one of the things that Paula does really well is she blends papers together for nice effects. We're also going to be using, I think, the tiny bells, and I have Tim's bulb pins here in the corner. I may also use one of his idea-ology adornments. There's 4 different styles in this package. Now, keep in mind, these came out in 2023, so they may not still be available. So if I can link them down below, I will. I'm really crunched for time this week. I am recording this on Sunday. My dog seems to have a UTI, and so we're going to have to spend some time at the vet one day this week, Monday or Tuesday, hopefully. Then we've got a day we've got to go pay bills. Another trip out of the house. And then I'm in the writers conference Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All day long, all 3 days. From like 8 in the morning until 10 at night. So it's going to be 3 long days. So I'm trying to get ahead of things. So anyway, we have the tree. We have the candy cane, the wreath, and the northern star. So we may or may not use one of those. But I wanted to pull them out of the package ahead of time. Then I've chosen... I have this Christmassy variegated crochet thread, and I also have this red baker's twine. Now, I have a couple of greens, but they're not really Christmas greens. One is Old Olive from Stampin' Up! That I think I could use, but it doesn't go with the bright red and white of this. And then I have Limeade, and it's too bright of a green. So if I want to bring in green, I'm going to be using this. Otherwise, it's just going to be the red and white candy stripe. Okay, so let's get started. I only have a few minutes. Now, as I said, the neat thing about the pocket cards is you don't have to use these in there. You could decorate this and use this as a gift card. Or you could put a spot of rubber cement here and put a gift card to this so that it's attached. But first off, let's go ahead and trim this down. Now, our pocket is roughly 3 inches. So I'm going to cut this down to 2 3/4. And because the tab's on the left, I'm going to have to take it all from here. So let's take this to 2 3/4 and get my trimmer out. And we'll take this to 2 3/4. Right? Whoops, going the wrong direction. Flip this over so we get a smooth So there's 2 and 3/4 right there. And then the other thing is, you know my tradition, but I will do it when I'm done cutting papers, is I will round the corners so that, and I probably will even round this one, so that they will go in and out of the pocket easy. So let's talk about layering this one first. And you know what? I think because I'm going to be messing with glue, I could put my Tim Holtz mat up here, but it creates such a glare. So I think I'm going to put my silicone mat up here. I love this thing. The $5 I spent for this at the church rummage sale last year was worth every penny. Because now I can try to keep my desk clean. It's not always easy, but it's a start. Okay, put that up there. Slide these over out of the way. I won't need those. And these. Okay, now we're ready. So let's start by layering this one up first. Okay. Now I know that I want to take part of this one, and I just want the stripe, but I want the candy cane going the right direction. So I'm going to come in here with this one. I almost bought a guillotine while I was in Illinois last week. Really great deal. $10. The only problem was, now see, I could run the green too. We'll see. The only problem was they had it taped shut, you know, so you couldn't cut your fingers, but there had to have been a blade in it for you to cut your fingers. So there was that. Okay, now, where's our pocket here? Our pocket is 3 inches wide, and it's going to be, pocket's going to be 3 by 4. But, so we've got this one used up. I'm going to set that scrap aside. Let's do this one, and we need to make sure that this is going the right direction. So I'm going to cut this off at the 4-inch mark first. And I want to go this way, because I want to get as much of that ribbon in there as I can. So 4, and then I can turn this around and go 4 this way. And that way I get all of that ribbon in the center, all of that wreath and ribbon. And it's by 3. And that's, I want to center that wreath. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it first. I think I'm going to glue it first. That way I make sure I get that wreath centered. So I'm going to flip this over. Use my Tombow. Go around the edge. Now I'm going to have to, I'm actually craft sprinting today, and if you don't know what sprinting is, it's using the Pomodoro method of 25 minute sprints with 5-minute breaks. We use it mostly in writing, but I have, today is Office Work Appreciation Day, and I have a couple of girls that I'm sprinting with, and so they're working on their office stuff, and I'm working on getting my office stuff out of the way. Okay, so there's that. And I've got a dry baby wipe over here. I can wipe the glue up as I go. And see, that wasn't quite enough. It's level at the bottom, but I was a little shy up here. So I can take my scissors, and I think I'm going to use my Fussy Cut sticky scissors from Westcott. So I can come right up against there and clip that off, and I won't have to worry about the glue issue if I do that. There we go. And then they'll be easy to clean off when I need them later. Okay, so for this one, now I could run this around the back, and I think I'm going to, but I'm going to punch that part out first, because if I punch it out first and then come back, I can see where that's at. So I can go right there, punch that out of the way, and then, what if I don't cover that and bring that around? That's going to be awfully thick. But I could do that. I think I'll do that. I think I like that, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and crease this one around too. So it's where it needs to be. And then we'll come back with our glue. And I'll come back in with another piece of this paper in a different pattern. and do that over. So are you thinking about Christmas? Are you crafting for Christmas? Because you know, we're in July, so we are less than 6 months from Christmas. And I don't know about you, but I am so ready for at least the cooler temperatures, so I can get outside and do stuff. Not that I can do a whole lot with my ribs yet. They're still in healing mode, and I'm trying not to encourage them to do something they shouldn't. Okay, now I've got a little bit there, and I'm going to attempt to trim this off without my glasses, so, you know, there is that. Okay, so we've got this. This is perfectly centered. I love that. But we need to do something to the back. And I think what I want to do, I do have something else over here that might be cool. I have the Tim Holtz vignette box tops. Now, nothing says you have to use these on the wooden boxes. Nothing says that you can't cut them apart and do something else with them. And I think that's what we may look at doing here. Let me clip this apart. And of course, that's not going to stick because it doesn't stick to silicone very well. But, you know, let's take these out. Move my box. You'll see there's stuff that goes. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. And if I put this behind it, and center that. Oh, I love that. I love that. So let's do that. So we're using the vignette box tops from Tim Holtz. And as I said, some of these items may or may not be available anymore. Okay, so I know I need to cut this frame down. So I'm going to put on my cheater so I make sure I get where I need to be on this line. Right there. There it is. And see, these pieces can be used in other things, so don't toss them. I just want to get my vignette box cut out. And we're going to go this way, and let's get this other vignette box. And you know, it would help if I could see out of my cheaters. It would help tremendously. If I could see out of my cheaters and keep my head out of the camera. I have so much problem getting stuff off my cutting mat, my trimmer. Do you have trouble getting a hold of things? Now, I could have done these with the scissors, but I also know with my trimmers, some days using the scissors and trying to cut straight is not always an option either. Those really didn't help all that much. So, I want to take and make sure that part of this is in there, and this is going to cover that whole thing. So if I use this to center over my design, just like that, and I use my pencil, which I know is here somewhere because the cap is laying over here, so I know I have the pen somewhere. And I'm not seeing it because, you know, I need it. There it is. It's hidden in my paper strips. Now I can go back and erase the pencil marks if I need to, but let's straighten that up. And see, I'm trying to get both of my skiers in line there. So let's go that way. Perfect? No. But any lines that are left behind, I can cut out. So I'm going to go in here with my fussy cuts. And I'm going to cut this out. And I don't need to be perfect. It just needs to glue to the top of my envelope. And I know what you're saying. I hear you. Kelly, you didn't have to cut it to shape because you want it to be inside. So, and you're right. You're right. So let's go ahead and erase the pencil marks off of there. Now that we know we have the general size, because here's what we're going to do. Sometimes I take the harder route than I need to. Sometimes. Okay, and you know what? We might actually get this in, or we need to. But this just needs to cover in here because the frame is going to cover everything else. So I need to make sure that we go up to here. And then the frame's going to cover everything else. Just like that. Okay, I do want to cut this one wider. So let me get another piece of that one out. If I go there, I think I'm going to be okay, actually. I think I'll be okay. Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So let's take and trying to make sure I don't have any edges on there. So I want to go ahead and do this. Going to take us the full 20 minutes just to get the front of this covered. But that's okay. You'll know where I'm going with this, right? Okay, then I'm going to come over here and I want to lay this. I'm going to lay this on here. That's got to go up there. Am I going the long way to do this? Probably. But we can take and slide this over in the glue. We have a general area of where it needs to go. And then we can slide that over. Slide that over some more. There we go. And you know, I'm messing with the glue, so I'm going to wear it. You know it's an option. Okay, and then that'll center right on there. And I'm going to trim this off. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Hold that thought. Let me stop a timer. Of course, I'm across the room from where I need to be when that timer goes off. Thank you for waiting. Okay, so I kind of like this, but it still needs something. So I'm going to press that glue down into place, but we still have this to do something with. And I thought that's where we could bring in the candy cane. I just want to make sure that I get all of the candy cane in there. And I need to, I should have brought out my other distress inks that I bought, but I'm going to go ahead and use walnut stain and take that white off of there a little bit and dust that down. And it doesn't matter where I dust, so as long as the part that I need gets dusted. Okay. And then I'm going to run a strip of the glue right down here. And you know, I was listening to Maddie's video yesterday about using a glue gun to do the Winter's Veil wreath because you want something that dries quick. And as you can see, when we were trying to move things, this glue was moving pretty quick too, or drying pretty quick. So I don't think that's a problem. And then there's that. Okay, now we've got that. I like that. I just wish it was a little, I may have to really pinch that down. And then we're going to need something down here at the bottom. And I have, what did I do with them? Okay, I had everything laid out here that we were going to need. And now I've lost my letters. I had the big ones laid out and I had the small ones ready to go because the big ones were going to be too big. And I've lost them too. I tell you, I was so ready for this video. And then it just went downhill. It just went downhill. I had the letters laying here to use on this because I want to put 25 down here in the corner, but I want to put something behind it. How do you lose letters? It just baffles me. I had them right here. Let me check the other table really quick. Well, they aren't there either. I swear, I had everything laid out so perfectly so I could get to everything that I needed. And all I see are the big letters, not the small ones that I'd saved out to put on here. My table isn't that big, folks. It's less than 3 feet across. And that's going to look through the paper dolls really quick. You can see I need to put the books back together. They're not the way they're supposed to be. I also had the paper dolls for Christmas laying out, and I don't see them anywhere. Who's been on my desk in the last 20 minutes? Aha! 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 Found them. Okay, we were using the file cards. I knew I had those pulled out. And I pulled out the Christmas, and I may use one of those or one of, I don't want the wreath. May use a tree. May use that. See, I was semi-prepared. And then I went and moved everything. And then let's pull out Santa. And I think instead of using the words here, I think I'm going to use, see, I think this one's going to be too big. I think that's going to be too big. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. I thought I had a smaller Santa here, but I really like Santa in this corner too, but he doesn't pop enough. He needs something behind him. So what about if we put Santa here? No, I'm not liking that either. I really like this poinsettia. So let's dust the edges of that poinsettia. And we'll get this wrapped up. This is going to be one of my longer videos, folks. It is what it is. Because, you know, I'm brain dead some days. So let me see my dots here. Use this one. My chatters are over there in our chat room, just a chatting away. And I'm not over there to put us back to work. So we're going to try and wrap this up. Probably not going to get, well, that didn't work. Use your stickies, folks, because they will go bad, and then you got to use glue to put them in place. So use your stickies. Okay, so let's do this. I really wanted something else behind that. I just don't know what. And here I am trying to make sure that I put stuff away when I'm done. And it's not cooperating. And it's getting really hot in this office. But I need something here. What about, I don't need the icicles. Santa, oh! What about if I use, I'm over here digging in my book, and I was thinking about the 25. If I did that, I'd use the Santa. But I don't think I want to use the Santa. I think he's too big for this. I really like using this corner. And I don't want to cover up my wreath completely. So I think we're just going to do that. I try to do the layers, and I'm just not Paula. I'd love to channel Paula and do the job that she does. And it just doesn't work. Maybe if I go this way with this, that'll work. And I've got a smaller 25 down here in the corner. But I also had the numbers pulled out, so I had something that had a little bit more dimension to it. And I went and lost the numbers. Already, I had them here just a minute ago. And I've lost them again already. Just that quick. Just that quick. You'll have that, won't you? But I really like that. And if I put that down here, see, Santa's still too big. And this is almost too big. I think I like this one. And then let's go back to the chat stickers. I don't want to use the remnant rubs. I just want a sticker. And let's go with, Let's use December. And we're going to dust it really quick. Now, I don't want to think how long it's going to take this video to upload tonight, but, you know, if it's like last night where I'm up at... Let's put that right there. And then I'm going to dust the edge of this. And I'm not going to get to the thing on the inside today, but that's okay. We're going to work with it. And then I'm going to put one of these right in the center. Because I really wanted the numbers on here, but I wanted the metal numbers on here. Or the plastic numbers. And I had them. Whoops. How about we put December 25th upright? Let's do that too. Okay. So there's our pocket. Now, I can come back with this, but I think it's too heavy. So real quick, I'm going to come back with this. So there's a lot of white on this thread, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm going to cut part of that thread off so I don't have all that white in there, and that'll go in my scrap box. And then I can come in here like this. Let's get up here. Maybe I should have left that white on, eh? Because I want the fiber on here. And I'm going to come back, hold that spot there, hold that spot there, clip that off. These come in a package of like 10 or 12 from Dollar Tree, and they are perfect for holding things in place, being an extra finger or two. And I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to tie this up. Now, I promise when we come back tomorrow, the tag is not going to take as long. But we do need to get a tag in here. Okay, and then we can take that off. And I may come back and move that up underneath. But I'll show you this finished tomorrow when we come back for Tag Tuesday. Thanks for joining me in the studio today. Remember to like, to share, subscribe, and creative Christmas blessings.